My parents told my 16-year-old daughter she was adopted at dinner, without warning. She kept saying, "Our family," so we corrected her, they said. Her psychologist had warned me not to bring it up yet because of her mental health. I didn't explain. I did this. 9 hours later, they were locked out for good. At the time I thought I was just running a little late. I'd stayed at the office longer than planned. I'd gotten stuck in traffic behind a delivery truck that appeared to be reversing in slow motion through time. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I was mostly thinking about leftovers, laundry, and how long I could sit on the floor before someone asked me to do something. I didn't know this would be the night everything shifted, that I'd walk through the front door and come out the other side in a different life. At that moment, I was still calm. I was still in the version of my day where everything was fine. "Hey," I called out as I stepped inside. My husband was in the kitchen, standing over a pan of something vaguely red. "Hey," he said. "Traffic." I kicked off my shoes. "Kaya's not back yet." He shook his head casual. "Nope. Figured she was still at your parents'. Maybe stayed for dinner." That made sense. She was supposed to go over there after school. Help them with something. Ornaments, I think. My mom's idea of festive multitasking. They'd offered to feed her. She'd said she'd be home after. Nothing unusual. She probably got a CKD into one of Dad's 10-minute stories that take 40 to 5 minutes. I said. My husband smirked. "She'll call if she needs us." We moved around each other in the kitchen like everything was normal. He drained the pasta. I checked the mail. We debated briefly about whether or not we had enough spinach to pretend we were being healthy. The dishwasher beeped, and I ignored it on principle. It wasn't until just after 6:50 that I realized she hadn't checked in. I glanced at my phone. No texts, no missed calls. I sent a quick message. "You still at Grandma's?" No reply. Tried again. "Everything okay?" Still nothing. "She's not answering," I said. My husband was already scrolling through his phone. Voicemail. I waited another few minutes before calling my mom. No sense in panicking. Maybe they went for a walk. Maybe they were in the middle of a cookie emergency. "Hey," I said when she picked up, "is she still with you?" My mom replied like I was asking about the weather. "Oh no, she left a while ago." I felt the first proper crack then. "When?" "Oh, maybe 3 hours ago." My mouth went dry. 3 hours? "Yes." She sounded annoyed I was questioning her math. She didn't say where she was going, just got up and left. I took a breath. Was something wrong? She got a little emotional. That's all. I froze. Emotional about what? Well, we told her. My voice dropped. Told her what? The truth. There was a long silence. I was standing in the living room looking at a spot on the wall like it might explain her better than she just had. "What truth?" I asked again. She kept saying "our family, this and our family, that." So we thought it was time. Time for what? I already knew, but I had to hear her say it. To tell her she's adopted. Everything inside me went still. My body was upright but hollow. Like a cutout of myself had taken the call instead. "You what?" I said. "She's 16. It's not like it's a secret that should have been kept this long. We were just, you had no right." My voice shook, but the rage was sharp. "You had absolutely no right." "Well, we didn't lie. You are not her parents." I said. "You are not her therapist. You are not her anything when it comes to that decision." She said something else. I don't know what. I hung up. I turned to my husband. "They told her." He blinked. "They told her she's adopted." I nodded. "And now she's not answering her phone. She left 3 hours ago, and she didn't come home." He stood frozen for a second. "You search. I'll stay here in case she shows up." I didn't even put socks back on. I ran for the car phone already pressed to my ear. I drove through every place I could think of. The trail near the school. The gas station where she always swore the hot chocolate tasted better. The park bench she liked to sit on when she needed quiet. Each call went to voicemail. Each text went unanswered. "I'm not mad. Please just let me know you're okay. Just call me please." Still nothing. The worst part was knowing what this could do to her. She was steady now, but it hadn't come easy. Years of therapy, careful parenting, gentle measured honesty. She wasn't fragile, just wired a little tighter than most. Routines helped, certainty helped, and now this dumped on her without warning. My parents had decided on their own that she needed the truth, like the truth was a light switch, and she'd walked out. 3 hours ago, then I remembered the overlook. It was just a bend in the road with a view of the river. Nothing special, but she liked it, said it made her feel calm. I turned fast enough to squeal the tires. And when I got there, her car was parked neatly, carefully. I pulled up behind it, killed the engine. The wind rushed through the trees. The sky was just beginning to darken. And there she was, sitting on a low rock, hugging her knees, small, staring out at the water like she was watching something only she could see. She was safe. She was here. But I didn't move. Not yet. Because whatever happened next, I knew that wasn't the kind of thing you fix with a hug. This was the kind of thing that changes everything. She didn't look at me when I sat down beside her. I didn't expect her to. The wind off the water was colder now. I could hear it in the way she breathed. Long, slow inhales like she was trying not to drown in air. I didn't say anything at first. There's a difference between giving someone space and abandoning them. At least that's what the therapist used to say. After a long stretch of silence, I asked, "Do you want to talk about it?" She didn't nod, but she didn't shake her head either. So I stayed. She pulled her sleeves over her hands and said, "We were talking about Christmas." I waited. They wanted to change the plan, said it was too much effort to do it at their place this year. That sounded like my parents. They love tradition right up until it requires standing. I said, "Well, in our family, we always do it this way." Then it kept going. Everyone had an opinion, and we were kind of arguing. At some point, someone said I was being stubborn, and I answered half jokingly, "Well, I got that from Grandma." And that's when she looked at me and said, she trailed off, swallowed. She said, "You didn't get anything from me. You're adopted." I turned my face away for a second, not because I didn't want her to see my reaction, because I needed one breath where I could still pretend this wasn't real. She just said it. I asked. She was mad, like I'd insulted her by saying I got something from her. She stared out at the water, and no one said anything. No one looked up. I felt my stomach curl in on itself. I left, just got up and walked out. But I heard someone say, "She's not really blood." She wiped her nose with the sleeve of her hoodie, then added, "And someone else said you should have told me years ago." I nodded, not because they were right, just because I didn't know. Else to do with my body. He turned to me then. Finally, her eyes were dry, but I could tell that wasn't always the case. Why didn't you tell me? The question landed harder than it should have. Not because I didn't have an answer, but because I'd rehearsed it for years. And now I had to say it in real life. When you were 9, we asked your therapist, I said. She said you weren't ready, that it might make things worse. I paused. She said you were still too afraid of being unwanted, that you were still trying to earn everything, even love. My daughter looked away again. And then just as quietly, you think I couldn't handle it? No, I said. I think we wanted to give you the chance to grow up feeling like you belong before giving you a reason to question it. Silence again. But not cold silence, just the kind that has weight to it. I thought back to how we got here. Middle children are supposed to be messy and loud and starve for attention. I was the quiet one, the one who remembered to bring the snacks and keep the peace. My sister, drama, glitter, and perpetual car trouble. My brother moved to Europe straight out of college and never looked back. According to my parents, he's doing something brilliant with logistics, whatever that means. So when my parents started needing help, groceries, home repairs, small bills, I was the one who stepped in. And when small bills became mortgage help, I said yes, because that's what I do, carry things, and apparently I fund retirements. I never told anyone, not even my husband at first. Felt like something I should just manage. My sister was always between jobs. My brother was always between countries. That left me, reliable, invisible me. It's funny, I used to think they trusted me more than the others. Now I wonder if they just knew I wouldn't say no. When we met Kaya, she was 1 year old and already heartbreakingly sick. She had this way of clinging to things, not tantrum clinging, just quiet, desperate grip. Her little hand around a blanket like she thought someone might take it. Her eyes darting around whenever she entered a room. The caseworker said, her background's mostly normal, which is I've learned is code for. We don't really know, and we don't want you asking. There were no hospital records. No consistent caregivers, just transition notes and an unsettling number of vague phrases like difficulty self, soothing, and resist comfort. But when she held my finger for the first time, that was it. That was the moment. It didn't matter what had come before. She was ours. We learned early that trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it hides inside perfect grades and flinches when someone slams a cabinet. She never acted out. She over-apologized. She panicked if we moved furniture without telling her. She memorized everyone's coffee orders by age 6. He smiled a lot, but sometimes it didn't reach her eyes. We started therapy not because of any one big crisis, but because I didn't want to wait for one. When she was 9, we sat in the therapist's office and asked, is it time to tell her? The therapist said no. She's still learning to feel safe. She told us she's still asking if she belongs. Let her grow up grounded before you hand her a story that could shake that. So we waited. We weren't hiding anything. We were just trying to buy her a little more time before the ground shifted under her feet. And now here we were, sitting on a rock by the water in the cold after everything had already collapsed. She looked at me again, not angry, just tired. I don't care that I'm adopted, she said. I care that they made it sound like I don't belong. My throat tightened. You do. They didn't make it sound like a fact. They made it sound like a reality. Reason I'm not really part of this. I nodded. You're not them, she added. Quiet, but firm. I nodded again. We sat in silence. This time it wasn't heavy, just human. Eventually she turned back to the water, and I sat beside her, thinking. We waited because we were told the truth would break her. We didn't see who would do it for us. We sat by the water for a long time. She didn't cry. Neither did I. It wasn't a tear-streaked movie moment. It was the silence that happens after something snaps, and you're just sitting there trying to figure out what's left to hold on to. Eventually I said, we can go whenever you're ready. She didn't answer, but 5 minutes later she stood up on her own. I followed her to the car that night, my husband and I didn't speak much. She went straight to her room, closed the door. We stood in the kitchen like people who'd missed the last boat off a sinking island. My husband handed me a tea bag and then realized he hadn't boiled water. I told him it was fine. We didn't need tea. We needed a plan. I sat at the table. He sat across from me. I opened my laptop. Mortgage transfer. Canceled. Grocery auto deliveries. Paused indefinitely. Utility bills. Deleted from our account. Card info removed from all their online services. We couldn't undo the past 16 years of quiet, invisible support. But we could stop funding people who treated our daughter like she was furniture someone left behind. My husband spoke first. You sure we shouldn't wait a few days? I looked him dead in the eye. No, and that was it. We didn't yell. We didn't make announcements. We just started cutting the ropes one by one. We stopped the monthly transfers, canceled the grocery top-ups, unlinked our card from their shared subscriptions and utilities. No more quiet extras to help them make it through the month. No more being the fallback plan. They made it clear who counted as family. So we did the same. They didn't call right away. Took 3 days. Then my phone rang. Dad, it said. I answered because I was still just barely willing to give them a chance to explain themselves. I shouldn't have bothered. His tone was halfway between confusion and offense. Hey, is there a problem with the bank? The transfer you usually send didn't come in. I didn't hesitate. No problem. We stopped paying it. Pause. What? Why? You told my daughter she's not family. I said, so we're not treating you like family either. Another pause. Longer. I pictured his face. Confused. Hurt. As if consequences were something that only happened to other people. You can't just do that. I exhaled slowly. I just did. He spluttered. Were your parents? You were. I said. And I hung up. I knew what would happen next, and I wasn't wrong. My mother called 4 times in a row then texted. This is emotional blackmail. You're overreacting. We did what you should have done. She deserved to know. You'll regret this. I didn't respond. I didn't delete the messages either. I left them there. Evidence. Not that I needed any. That night, I was folding towels when my husband walked and holding his phone. Do you know what next week is? He asked. I blinked. Laundry week. He half smiled. Her adoption day. I froze. Then nodded. 15 years. He sat on the bed beside me. We should do something. Yeah, I said we should. And then very slowly a new idea formed. Not a camel at dinner. Not a quiet hug on the couch. Not a heartwarming family slideshow set to violin music. Something louder, big, joyful, defiant. A party. It started as a joke. What if we threw her an adoption party? I asked. Like a real one. Decorations. Food. Music. Cake that says something absurd like, Happy Legal Ownership Day. My husband grinned. I'd go to that party. And that was it. The joke became a plan. We made a list that night. People she loved. People who made her feel safe. People who never looked at her like she was borrowed. Some were obvious. Her best friend, her friend's mom, her old art teacher who still sent her postcards. Some were less obvious. The neighbor who always waved. The retired science teacher who helped her with biology during COVID. Her former babysitter who now worked as a barista and once gave her a free muffin for being decent. We did not invite my parents. We did not invite my sister. We did not invite anyone who had sat quietly at that table and let her be reduced to biology. When people asked why they weren't invited, we told them the truth, plain and simple. They told her she wasn't family, so we didn't invite them to a family event. We didn't say it bitterly. We said it clearly, and people listened. The morning of the party, I woke up at 5 a.m. Not because I had too much to do, though I did, but because I couldn't stop thinking about how easy it is to lose someone by trying to control the story they're allowed to live. We spent so long trying to time the reveal perfectly, and in the end, it wasn't the truth that hurt her. It was the way it was used as a boundary, a wall, a weapon. I walked into her room with a sticky note that said, "We're something you can twirl in." She laughed when she read it. That was the first sign I knew we were doing the right thing. By 3 p.m., the house was full. There was a banner that said, "Day 1 of Forever, 15 years strong." Cards, photos of her when she was little. Someone brought a stuffed giraffe wearing a crown and said, "I heard this used to be her favorite." The front yard was covered in shoes. The living room was loud. Someone put on music she loved. The cake was huge, ridiculous, and absolutely perfect. She walked into the center of it all, like she was unsure if this was a trap. And then someone hugged her. Then another. Then someone handed her a card that said, "You're exactly where you belong." And she started smiling. Not a forced smile, not a polite, teeth showing one, but real smile, the kind that hits the eyes. A few people asked where my parents were, and I told them, calm, straight, no dramatics. Just, they told her she wasn't family, so we believed them. No one argued, no one looked shocked. If anything, a few people nodded like they'd been waiting for someone to finally say it out loud. More guests arrived. The house buzzed. My daughter stood at the center of it all, laughing, holding a soda in one hand and a plate of pasta in the other, telling someone about a terrible group project from last semester. She belonged, and the ones who didn't, they weren't missed. I was mid-sentence with one of Kaya's teachers, something about her writing portfolio, when I noticed my husband's expression change. Then I turned, and there they were, my parents and my sister. They weren't hovering at the edge of the party. They weren't peeking through the gate wondering if they'd be let in. They had already walked in, through the side entrance around the hedge, straight into the crowd like they were supposed to be there. My mom was wearing lipstick, like armor, and carrying a gift bag. My dad had sunglasses tucked into his shirt collar. My sister had a smug little smile that could curdle milk. Kaya saw them about the same time I did. She froze mid-bite, holding a plastic fork in her hand, like she'd forgotten how arms work. I didn't wait. I walked straight toward them. My husband followed, no questions asked. My mom got there first. "We're here to celebrate Kaya," she said brightly, holding out the bag like that explained everything. My dad chimed in. "Let's put the past behind us. It's time." Kaya hadn't moved. She looked stunned, like the part of her brain that handles fight or flight had been unplugged. My mom moved toward her. "Sweetheart, it's not your fault all this got blown out of proportion." That's when I stepped between them. "No," I said, "you don't belong here." My mom blinked. "We're not here to fight. You already did that. We're here to support her. You told her she wasn't family." My dad stepped in, hands raised like he was breaking up a bar fight. "Let's be civil. For Kaya." I glanced at her, still frozen. "You don't get to use her as cover for what you did." The conversations around us had stopped. People were watching now. No one said a word. "Not yet. You're being petty," my mom hissed. "We said one stupid thing." I leaned in slightly. "And now you're going to leave." My mom looked around, realizing there wasn't going to be a rescue. My dad's mouth was pressed into a firm line, like he was trying to decide whether to argue or fold. I didn't give him the chance. "You're not welcome here," I said clearly. "Leave. Now." I didn't shout. I didn't flinch. I just said it loud enough for everyone to hear. There was a beat of stillness. Then my mom's shoulders dropped. My dad looked around like he might find someone, anyone, on their side. They didn't. And they turned around and walked out. No one rushed after them. No one whispered, "Maybe we should give them a chance." One woman muttered, "I can't believe they even showed up." Someone else did. "Took nerve, I'll give them that." I walked back to Kaya. She looked up at me, eyes wide. "Did that really just happen?" "Yup," I said. "Want cake?" She laughed once, just a short, stunned puff of air. "I kind of do." So we had cake. But the tension never fully left the air. For a while there was silence. A full week of it. No calls. No texts. Nothing. Then my parents showed up at my house. I opened the door before Kaya could see them and stepped outside. My dad spoke first. "We need to talk." I shut the door gently behind me and crossed my arms. "We can't pay the mortgage," he said. "Without your help, we're underwater." My mom's tone was softer, desperate. It was one thing we said. "Don't throw away your entire family over it." I stared at them for a long moment. "You didn't just say something hurtful. You said it to Kaya. You made her question whether she belonged." My mom blinked fast. "We said it badly. We were upset. You meant it. We didn't." She insisted. "We were trying to help. You told her she wasn't really part of the family. And then you expected a party invitation." We were angry. So was she. She cried herself quiet on a rock by the water while you went back to your meal. My dad tried one more time. "Can you please just help us cover next month? Just while we catch up?" "No." I said. "You're really going to do this?" My mom asked. "Over one moment." "This isn't one moment." Said, "This is 15 years of politeness and distance and tolerating her while praising everyone else's kids like they invented fire." This is the one time she said our family and you couldn't stand it. She opened her mouth. I didn't let her finish. You don't get to make her feel small and then ask me to pay your bills. We're your parents, my dad said, almost pleading now. Not anymore, I said, and I closed the door. I didn't tell Kai about that visit. She didn't ask, and didn't offer, but the phone call stopped after that. So did the guilt text from my sister. For a week or two, I thought we'd finally hit silence. Then my aunt showed up. He brought muffins, bought with the plastic lid still half off. I'm not here to pick sides, she said. I just want to understand. So I walked her through it. Every word, every detail, no spin, no drama, just facts. By the end, she sat quietly for a few seconds. Then she said, I get it. Another pause. I wouldn't forgive that either. She didn't finish her muffin. She said she had errands to run. I never saw her again. And then 2 weeks later, I got a message from my brother. He lives in Spain now. Rarely calls. Mostly just sends postcards with goats on them. The text said, I just heard what happened. I want you to know I'm on your side. That was unforgivable. I stared at it for a long time. Then I put my phone down and made dinner. A month passed. Kaya and I were cooking one evening. She was stirring pasta with way too much confidence. I was pretending not to hover. She turned to me suddenly and said, I'm glad we did the party. I nodded, me too. We didn't say anything else. We didn't need to. They didn't lose her because of what they said. They lost her because they meant it. So did I go too far or not nearly far enough? I've asked myself that a few times and honestly, I still don't know.